Hi, how you doing? Justin Sandico here. Welcome to the lesson on the blues language. Now, if you want to start playing blues lead guitar, this is probably the biggest deal, the most important lesson that you're going to get, right? Because it'll explain how you use the tools that I'm going to give you over the coming weeks, right? Now, the first thing that's really important is to understand that a scale is just an alphabet. Now, I'm going to give you a little demo on this. So, most people start off learning the minor pentatonic scale, right? So, and they're pretty happy with that, and they can play the scale and it's all sounding good. And then they go to improvise over a backing track and they go, and they're like, well, it's not sounding very bluesy. It's not really doing very much at this point. And they might think, well, what if I just play around with the notes a bit more instead of playing the scale? And they go like, and it's still not really very satisfying. And then they discover a lick, or they play a lick, and you go, so, oh yeah, hang on, now he's speaking blues. And this is a really big deal for you. When you're learning to play blues for the first time, we're going to start with scales because they get your fingers moving and they teach you where the good notes are. But what's really important is that you make words out of the alphabet. Okay, so the scale is just the alphabet. That's all it is. It's showing you what the different sounds are that you can use. But what makes musical sense is a word. If you put random letters of the English alphabet together, it's not really going to say very much, is it? Not very much at all. It's only when you put the letters together in a way that people are used to hearing. It can be very simple. It could be straight away, but that sounds like a blues word. It's said something. If I go, it's a word. If I go, it's a word. They're little phrases that we all learn. They're blues language. And a lot of people get scared of the lick idea. They're like, well, I don't want to learn licks because then I'm going to sound like everybody else. But that's kind of the point. If you wanted to be a poet and you're using the English language, making up your own words from our alphabet isn't going to communicate very much with anyone. You might be a genius poet, but no one's going to understand what it is that you say. And the guys that we really love in the blues, that really say so much and affect all of us really deeply, are the guys who use the language beautifully. If you think Eric Clapton invented all the licks that he plays, you're very, very wrong. A lot of that's going to be Freddie King and Albert King and B.B. King, those guys, if you trace it back a little bit. And if you listen to those guys, you can trace it back a bit further. Sure, somebody invented it, but what's happened is, over the last 50 odd years, we've all absorbed this language and we're really familiar with it and we know what it sounds like. And when people use that language, we can feel it. We can kind of understand that they're communicating something with us. It's a lot bigger than just notes anymore. It's become bigger than that. When we listen to a great blues artist, they're expressing themselves through the words. It's not just the letters. And it's a really interesting thing because you get these guys like B.B. King that can play incredible solos with just 3 notes. But what they've done is they've found really powerful words that connect with all of us, and they're putting them together in a simple way. And that's how, a simple way that we can understand. That's the big deal. It's not just the notes that they picked, it's how they used the notes. Right? How they use the notes to make words. And I can't, express how important it is that you take this on board, because if I show you one lick, one word, you can then communicate. Whereas if I just show you the alphabet, the scale, you're not really going to be able to do much with it. And any of you that have learned a second language will know that as soon as you learn how to say thank you in another language, you're making a start. You're communicating with another being in another language. And that's what you need to be doing as you're learning your blues lead guitar, is learning words that can communicate with somebody. So that's what it's all about, okay? Learning the scales and learning the minor pentatonic and the blue note and all of that stuff is really useful and it's very, very cool. But you need to take it beyond that and turn it into language before you start to communicate. So we're going to start off with the minor pentatonic scale, get your fingers moving, get your fingers understanding where they are. We're going to start looking at some licks straight away and some techniques like string bending that enable you to use the language properly, because particularly in blues, without string bending, you can't actually speak the language properly. You kind of can, but it's pretty difficult to. So a lot of the most essential words in blues involve string bending. One thing that I think is absolutely essential while you're doing this course is listening to the blues. Because if you don't know what it sounds like, you're never going to be able to copy it. Okay, it's really the biggest deal of all of the things that you learn. If you're not listening to it, you're never going to make it sound right. There's a load of things, little inflections and how hard and soft you have to play the notes in the licks and that kind of stuff. You know, you might be able to copy it from my video, but believe me, you're far better off learning it from Albert King and B.B. King and Freddie King and Eric Clapton and Stevie Ray Vaughan, whoever it is that you really love more than me. Okay, those are the guys who have just really got something special about the way they communicate. And when you're learning your licks, what you're going to find is, as you learn the licks on my course, you're going to hear the great guys that you really like playing them, and you're going to hear them in a new way and hear the way they can kind of vary the licks to say even more things than just that one word that you thought it was initially. It's a really, really big deal. In fact, one of the things later on as you progress on the instrument is going to be playing along with the great masters. Once you know how to tell what key you're in and you've got your licks, you're listening, you hear B.B. King play a lick and maybe you echo him and try and either play the same lick or play a reply. He said something to you, you can reply back. This kind of thing, and really listening, really trying to absorb yourself in the music is going to be the best way for you to learn to play blues guitar. Better than anything else is you listening and learning and playing. You're going to learn the most like that. Remember that we listen to music. Music is something we listen to. It's about hearing. So don't forget that for a second. Later on, I'm going to start raving about transcribing and working out solos on your own, but not yet. I think it's a nice, more comfortable way to start in this first course is by learning the language, learning the scales, because a lot of the words are going to use the same alphabet, right? So once you know the alphabet, you're going to hear the alphabet and you're going to find it easier to learn new words. That's kind of the point. So, okay, plenty of me raving now about the importance of this language thing, but it's just such a big deal. I'm going to be mentioning it again and again probably as we go through the course, but really try and take this to heart. And I'm going to put some more notes on the website about this as well, some places where you can hear some really good language being used. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to start looking at the minor pentatonic scale, which is the alphabet. So I'll see you for that very soon. You take care of yourselves. Bye-bye.